Muscle meridian tests are another test that we can use to determine energetic imbalance in meridians. With muscle meridian tests, they actually test specifically for under energy condition in meridians. There's one test for each meridian, and it involves holding the arms or legs in very specific positions to engage the muscle that relates directly to each meridian. So we're going to go through all 12 of them with Anastasia. The first one we're going to do is testing spleen meridian. To test spleen meridian, we hold the arm straight along the body. We make sure the palm is facing back, not towards the body, and the elbow is straight. I'm going to stabilize on the shoulder closest to me. I'm going to slip my hand in between her body and her hand, and I'm going to try to pull her away from her body. So I'm going to tell Anastasia to hold strong for me, and she's nice and strong. The next step is we have to know that we can get a weak and a strong appropriately, just like when we pre-check for the general indicator test. In this case, the muscle that we pinch is latissimus dorsi muscle. It's below the shoulder blade in the bulk of the back. So I'm going to give that muscle a pinch, and I'm going to try again and hold strong, and she goes nice and weak. That's what's supposed to happen. When you pinch a muscle, it disrupts the energy. Now I'm just gently going to stroke that muscle, and I'm going to test her again and hold strong, and she's nice and strong. When you stroke a muscle, you can stroke it, or you can even just draw a figure 8 over the muscle. That brings the energy back to the muscle, and it should test strong. The next test we're going to do is for liver meridian. The position for this muscle test is the arm is up at 90 degrees from the body, the thumb is aimed down, I'm stabilizing on the opposite shoulder, and the motion is what I call the backstroke motion. It pushes up and away from the body. So hold strong for me, and she's nice and strong. The muscle involved with liver is the pec muscle, and I'm going to give that a little pinch. I'm going to test her again, and she goes nice and weak. Now I'm going to gently stroke that muscle, test again, and she's strong. The next meridian we're going to test is stomach meridian. And actually, the position is exactly the same as with the liver test, except this time, instead of aiming up and out like a backstroke, we're going to aim down and out from the body at about a 45-degree angle. Thumb is down. I'm going to stabilize on the same opposite shoulder, and I'm going to tell Anastasia to hold strong, and she's nice and strong. And this engages the pec muscle as well, but this time you pinch it where it attaches at the clavicle. Test again, down she goes, give it a stroke or a figure 8, and hold, and she's nice and strong. Very good. The next one we're going to do is gallbladder meridian. With gallbladder meridian, you hold the arms out. I call this the tired zombie. You hold the arms out like a zombie, and you're going to go straight down towards her body. I'm going to stabilize on the opposite shoulder, and I'm going to tell her to hold strong. And hold, and she's good. The muscle engaged with gallbladder is the anterior deltoid, just the front of the deltoid here. And hold strong, and she goes nice and weak. A stroke, a figure 8, test again, and she's strong. It's important with this test to stabilize on the opposite shoulder. If I stabilized here, I would likely be touching the muscle that I'm working with, and that disrupts the test. You could hold like this, but to play it safe, just put your arm on the opposite shoulder and you don't have to think about it. Okay, the next test we're going to do is central meridian. It's very similar to gallbladder, but instead of it being a test that goes straight down, we're going to turn the hand in so it goes to cover right over the pubic area. So one more time, I'm going to stabilize on the opposite shoulder, and I'm going to ask Anastasia to hold strong. And she's nice and strong. The muscle that relates to central is called supraspinatus. If you come down a little bit from the top of the shoulder, you're going to feel the upper edge of the scapula or shoulder blade. And that muscle is right above it. Hold strong. She goes nice and weak. I give it a little bit of sugar. Hold strong, and it's nice and strong. Okay, next we're going to do lung meridian. The position for lung is thumb up and a little bit higher above the midline. Now, this stabilizes in a different way. You stabilize behind the scapula. You have the arm above midline and you ask them to reach forward like they're almost like they're throwing a ball. And the direction you test is straight down. Hold strong. Very good. The muscle involved with lung is called serratus anterior. It's a feathery muscle that comes right around the side of the body and the rib cage. So I'm going to give that a pinch, put her in the right position, stabilize at the scapula, and down she goes. Now I'm just going to stroke that muscle, reach forward and hold, and she's nice and strong. Okay, next we're going to do heart meridian. The way to remember heart is the scarecrow. So she's going to assume the scarecrow position, arm at a 90-degree angle. I'm going to stabilize behind her elbow and I'm going to try to pull her arm forward. You ready? Hold strong. She's nice and strong. The muscle for heart meridian is called subscapularis, meaning sub below the scapula, and we actually can't touch it directly. So what I'm going to do is right at the shoulder is where one of the tendons to that muscle attaches. So I'm just going to flutter my fingers, which is another way to disrupt the energy, and I'm going to pull her forward and she goes nice and weak. Now I'm going to figure eight over that area and send that healing energy in. And with any luck, she goes nice and strong, and there she is. So now we're going to continue with our muscle meridian tests that use the legs. The first one we're going to do is kidney meridian. The angle for kidney is you lift the leg up, and then you're going to push down and out. I'm going to stabilize on the opposite hip. I'm going to lift her leg and say, hold strong, and she's nice and strong. I'm going to put the leg down, and the muscle we're going to pinch is the psoas muscle, which is right on the inside of the hip. So I'm going to give her a little pinch there, lift her right up, hold strong, and she gets nice and weak. Now I'm gently going to stretch there, or stroke there, and she's strong. Now, if you feel uncomfortable, let's say it's a woman and you're working on a man for the first time and you're uncomfortable touching that muscle, you can just flutter your fingers over it to weaken it, and you can figure eight over it to strengthen it. The next one we're going to do is large intestine muscle, and it's a very similar test, but instead of turning the foot out and pushing down and out, we're going to turn the foot in and we're going to push it down and in. The way I remember it is kidney kicks out, large intestine leans in. So I'm going to stabilize on the opposite hip. I'm going to lift her leg and I'm going to push down and in. Hold strong, and she's nice and strong. The muscle for the large intestine is called tensor fascia lata. It's right at the top of the side of the hip here. I'm going to pinch it on this side because that's the muscle I tested, but just to show you, it's like a triangular muscle on the side of the hip. So I'm going to give that a little pinch, stabilize, lift, and push down and in, and down she goes. Now I'm just going to stroke that muscle. And again, I'm stroking it on the side of the leg that I tested. But I'm showing it to you on the opposite side so you can see. And test again, hold strong, and she's nice and strong. The next one we're going to do is small intestine. This is a pretty easy one. You're going to lift the leg and bend the knee, but you don't want, relax the leg, we don't want a right angle, we want it a little bit higher. So you ask your client if she can actually see her toe from the lying position. And I'm just going to push straight down. So hold strong, she's nice and strong. The muscle engaged is the quadricep muscle, really easy to find. And hold, she goes nice and weak. I'm going to give it a nice stroke, and she's strong. And I always like to grab the leg and put it down. The next two we're going to do, you need to come to the bottom of the feet. The first one is circulation sex. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have her slide one leg to the outer edge of the table, and the motion is I'm going to try to pull her in towards center. I'm stabilizing on the opposite angle. You ready? Hold strong. Very good. Now the muscle that engages circulation sex is the gluteus muscle. So instead of me pinching her, I'm just going to tell her, would you give your bottom a little bit of a pinch? and hold, and she goes nice and weak. Now I'm going to have her stroke that muscle and test again, hold strong, and she's nice and strong, and just relax. Know that when you're working with people, you're always going to test on both sides, because sometimes we have something going on one side of the body and not the other. For demonstration purposes, I'm only showing you on one side, but in actual time when you're working with people, you're going to test both. Okay, the last one on the leg we're going to do is bladder meridian. And it's a little bit of some people find this a little awkward, but it's really quite easy if you practice it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn her foot and have her aim her pinky toe up towards her head. This is called everting the foot. I'm going to stabilize under the ankle of the same foot, and I'm going to try to just push her foot straight across to center. Are you ready? And hold. And she's nice and strong. And relax. The muscle engaged with bladder meridian is the peroneus muscle. It's on the outside edge of the lower leg. So I'm going to pinch that a few times and hold strong. And she goes nice and weak. It's almost like a little bit of an unscrewing motion. Now I'm going to stroke that muscle, pinky toe pointed up, and hold, and she's nice and strong. So those are the leg muscle meridian tests. Now there's two arms that I sometimes do when someone's on the table. The first one is governing meridian. What I'm going to have Anastasia do is just shift a little bit towards that edge of the table so her elbow can actually hang over the edge, and she's going to hold her wrist or the back of her hand behind her back. Some people call this the chicken wing. You can also call it the handcuff. I'm going to stabilize on the opposite shoulder, and I'm going to try to pull her elbow forward. She needs to be at the edge of the table because the elbow needs to go back. The starting position is below, it's not at 90 degrees, it's below 90 degrees. So hold strong for me. Very good. The muscle, I'm just going to have you lean forward a bit, is called teres major, and it's right at the inner edge of the scapula. Hold strong. Whoop, there she goes, nice and weak. I'm going to have her just lean a bit forward, stroke it, and she's nice and strong again. Very good. Now you can scoot back over. And the last one we're going to do is triple warmer. This is another arm meridian. So I sometimes call this the Pledge of Allegiance. The position is you hold the arm out at an angle, a fist width away from the body. You are neither forward nor back, right in line with the body. And the movement, I call the Pledge of Allegiance. You're going to bring the hand towards the front. So I think it's easiest to show if we do it on this side, and I'm going to stabilize on the opposite shoulder. You ready? And hold strong. Very good. Now this muscle is very similar to the governing muscle, which was teres major. This is teres minor. They're two thin muscles. Just lean a little bit to the side. If you have the shoulder blade here, they're two thin muscles that run along the inside edge of the scapula, the edge that's closest to her arm. So really, if you just pinch in that general area, you will get both of those muscles. Hold strong. She goes nice and weak. I give it a little stretch and hold, and she's nice and strong. Those are our 14 muscle meridian tests. You can do all of them laying down, or you can do all of them standing up. The legs are pretty hard to do standing up. I really recommend doing them on the table. The arm tests, I really recommend getting comfortable in both positions, laying down or standing up. You want to get your clients on the table as soon as you can. And so practice it both ways, and it's easy to get facile with both. So those are our 14 muscle meridian tests.